Hi, and welcome to Lunch with Lisa. And today, I'm going to show you how to make chicken a la king, a dish from the 1920s. It's Lunch with Lisa. So this dish is one of those classic comfort foods. I've actually never had it before, but it's a nice creamy mixture of chicken and mushroom. And it's an easy way to use up any leftover chicken, turkey, or even ham, or any other kind of meat you want to use up. It's easy to serve this over anything from rice to egg noodles to even some toast or biscuits or pasta. I mean, the sky's the limits with the carbs. This dish is even so versatile. You can leave out the meat, add in some vegetable broth instead of chicken broth, and add in a little bit more mushrooms, and it's a vegetarian dish. How amazing is that? For this recipe, you're gonna need up to 6 tablespoons unsalted butter, about half a pound of sliced mushrooms or a whole container, 2 large shallots minced, or if you just have some onion on hand, use that instead. 1 cup of diced sweet bell peppers, salt and pepper, 1/3 cup of flour up to 1/2 cup of flour, depending on how thick you wanna make this. And a must is 1/4 cup of dry sherry. I found this at my condiment aisle in the grocery store. 3.5 cups of chicken broth or stock, or of course you can use vegetable broth here. You want a pinch of freshly grated nutmeg, and if you don't have one of these graters, you can find the link below to where to buy that in my Amazon store. 1 pinch of cayenne pepper, 2 teaspoons of fresh thyme, 1 tablespoon chopped fresh Italian parsley, and if you don't have it, just leave it out. 1/3 cup of creme fraiche or heavy cream, or you could even use sour cream here. 4 cups of cubed roasted chicken, or leftover meat. Turkey or ham would be a good option here, or just leave the meat out for a vegetarian option. And if you do that, double up on those mushrooms. And then of course some chopped fresh chives or spring onions for garnish. Step 1, you're gonna melt the butter in a large skillet over medium-high heat. Add in your mushrooms and your salt, and then saute until the mushrooms release their moisture. Continue cooking until the moisture evaporates and the mushrooms begin to brown, about 8 to 10 minutes. Then add in your onions or your shallots and cook and stir until shallots soften about 3 to 4 minutes. Then reduce your heat to medium and stir in your flour to coat the mushrooms. Cook this until your flour begins to turn golden. It's about 5 minutes. Then add in your peppers, cook and stir for about 1 minute. Then pour in your sherry. Allow that to sizzle for about 30 seconds. Stir in your stock. Raise your heat to medium-high and bring to a simmer. When it starts to bubble, reduce the heat to medium-low and cook this until it's slightly thickened. It's about 10 to 15 minutes. Stirring this occasionally so the bottom doesn't burn. Then add in your nutmeg and your cayenne pepper. Then stir in your thyme, parsley, cream, and chicken. Reduce your heat to low and cook until the chicken is just heated through. It takes just about 5 minutes. Check your seasonings. You definitely want to taste this before you serve it, just to make sure it has enough seasoning. You'll probably need to add more salt and pepper so it isn't too bland. I got this recipe from allrecipes.com and I saw a lot of comments on there that said this recipe was just way too bland. So when that happens, hey, test it out. Add some more salt. Don't be afraid to tweak recipes. Ladle this onto noodles, rice, biscuits or toast, and then top this with some chopped fresh chives or spring onion. Of course, if you prefer your chicken a la king on the thicker side, you can increase the amount of flour in your roux from 1/3 cup to 1/2 cup. There is no substitute for the sherry in this, except you could probably use a splash of a sweet mild vinegar. This recipe yields about 4 small or 2 very large servings. And per serving, your calories come out to be 583. Got 36 grams of fat. It's a lot of fat, so if you want to cut out some of the fat, cut back on the butter. It's got 21 grams of carbs, of course not counting the carbs in your rice, your noodles, or your toast or biscuits. So if you want to ladle this over a bed of fresh lettuce and cut back on your carbohydrates, go for it. Or you could always use zucchini noodles. That's a great pasta replacement. And you get a whopping 44 grams of protein in this. It's great, so eat away. Now, this dish was really popular in the mid-century, the 50s and the 60s. However, it was invented closer to the 1900s, the 1920s, maybe even earlier than that. I looked up the history of this dish and it was kind of interesting to see that it had like 4 different kind of storylines. So we don't really know exactly how it was invented or who invented it exactly. but there's some speculation. There's about 4 different stories. So the first one is it was created by a chef named George Greenwald at the Brighton Beach Hotel, and he made it for the owners who were named King. So Clark King II was the owner, and he liked it so much they put it on the menu. The second story is that it was created at Delmonico's in New York in the 1880s by a Foxhound Pekin, K-E-E-N-E, who claims that it was his idea. He was the son of a guy named James R. Keene, who was a Grand Prix champion. So then the third story is that in London, there was a restaurant, did I write that right? Claridge's, that claims that they made it to celebrate James R. Keene and his Grand Prix win. Like Keene, K-E-E-N-E, King, maybe that a la King, a la Keene. Then the last story is that there was an obituary of William King in the New York Times in 1915 that claims that he created it in Philadelphia at the Bellevue Hotel where he cooked in 1895. So it was invented around the turn of the century by someone, and it started getting popular in the 1920s and got really popular toward the mid-century. But I chose it for this group just because it popped up as something really popular in the 1920s. So enjoy your a la King and let me know how it goes. It is so easy to cook and put together, and my son really liked it. So let me know what you think. Leave a comment down below. And if you like this recipe, you'll really love this one too. Stick around for the pineapple upside down cake, a really fancy dessert in the 1920s. It's lunch with